Guys, when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action, and if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your one shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Guys, I sent the rundown out last night, and I woke up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and saw a text from Jason. And the text was an update from Adam Schefter saying that doctors have found a potential stress fracture in Abdul Carter's right foot, and he will need to decide whether or not to have surgery. Sources tell ESPN, quote, there are mixed opinions on whether he needs surgery. We will figure that out in the coming days. Immediately, the first thought through my mind was, well, this ruins any chance of Cam Ward falling to number 2 or Shedeur Sanders, the Browns getting both their choices at quarterback. But then a few hours later, just a little earlier this morning, Adam Schefter sent up a follow-up tweet saying, doctors told Penn State defensive end and projected #1 pick Abdul Carter that after further scans on his right foot, surgery is not advisable. Carter will work out at his pro day on March 28th, and his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, said, I couldn't be more confident that this would be a non-factor where he's drafted, end quote. Jason, Tyvis, Earl, I want to start with you on this one as your first topic back on the panel. Is this foot injury a major concern for Abdul Carter? And if it is, does he still have a chance to be the #1 pick, meaning the Browns can get their choice of quarterback at number 2?
I think it's a major concern for Abdul Carter if it impacts his draft position because it impacts his money. But, you could probably attest to this. I remember hearing stories of my cousin D. Miller. He went to the NFL Scouting Combine. Mm-hmm. And I remember he told me a story about when he showed up to the Combine, he felt totally healthy, perfectly fine. And they take you through a gauntlet of different, workouts and different tests and things like that. And sometimes things pop up that you didn't know was there. And so if this is being considered a small stress fracture and it's something that he didn't clearly play with and hasn't had any impact on his performance, then no, from a football standpoint, as of right now, I don't see how that impacts him. I think it sucks that this news came out because I know as soon as he's seen it, he's seeing his draft stock just kind of plummet. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Hour by hour, and that impacts like how much money you make where you drafted at. So for me, I think it sucks in that aspect. Now, as it pertains to the Cleveland Browns, it was just like, damn. So of course, I've been off the scene for a while. And so, I had, before everything happened, I had kind of settled in on Shedeur Sanders at 2 with the thought process of Cam Ward is, without a question, is going to be the #1 overall pick going to Tennessee. But you start seeing mock drafts pop up everywhere, like Bucky Brooks, who was on this show, popped up with a mock draft that had Abdul Carter going #1 among others. And it was like, okay, well, now that changes the conversation if Cam Ward is available. But now seeing that news, it was just like, damn, man. Somebody, if it's not Tennessee, somebody's going to trade up to go get Cam Ward. And, it could be the Browns if they really like him that much. If you truly, truly like Cam Ward, and Kevin Stefanski said he feels like this is a good quarterback class. So if that's a quarterback he IDs and you are afraid of another team moving ahead of you to go get him, then you do what you got to do. But it definitely I looked at it like no matter what, Cam Ward is going #1 to somebody.
Yeah.
So,
Tyvis, have you ever had – there's a difference in a stress reaction and a stress fracture. They're different. Mm-hmm. A reaction's not as severe as a fracture. Okay. It's like the first step. Have you ever had any of this? Have you dealt with this in your career?
I've not dealt with anything. And for the only thing, I had some ankle sprains. I had some sports hernias. I broke my wrist. I haven't done anything, where my foot, I thought I had plantar fasciitis. That'll bring an elephant down. I don't care what nobody say. You get plantar fasciitis, it's done. But as far as a stress fracture or anything like that, I haven't had that. But I will say, going to the Combine, you do go there, you feel healthy. It's like day 2 or 3. I think it's day 2 where you got to do the medical. Oh, my God. You better listen. Listen to me. You better pray that when you in college, you don't have no injuries. Because when you go to that combine and you got to go sit on 32 different doctors, because it's not just, one doctor's going to be the doctor for everybody. No. All 32 teams got their guy.
Yep.
You got to go. The Falcons want to see you. The Jacksonville Jaguars want to see you. Got to go sit on the table, get your legs bent and elbow and all this, all that, like for 32 different times. Then they're going to say, for me it was, well, you broke your wrist and you had a sports hernia. We need to get x-rays on this. So we need to send you to the hospital where you're going to go get a CT scan, an x-ray, CAT scans, any scan that you could think, MRIs, all of that. And I missed my media availability because that's what I was doing. I was supposed to go sit on the podium and talk and do all that. I couldn't do it because I was stuck at the hospital doing these scans. So when I saw this, I just was like, that it's unfortunate. Now, however, when I seen Schefter's tweet, that was Schefter that was Ian Rappaport that tweeted out that he didn't need, the surgery, whatever. Whoever tweeted out. When I seen that this morning, I said to myself, first of all, I don't think Abdul Carter's going first in the draft. I just don't. Because when you look at the Tennessee Titans, they are pretty much in the same camp as the Browns. Will Levis ain't the answer. You're not going to continue to move forward with a guy that's not the answer. I know you spent the first-round pick on him a couple years ago, but clearly he just hasn't been the guy. So I think that they will move off of him for Cam Ward, so I don't think we was going to get Cam Ward anyways. However, when it comes to the Cleveland Browns, I still think the Browns are in the situations where it's all about, do they believe Shedeur is that guy or not? If they think Shedeur is that guy, which I know Kevin's coming out and saying, oh, yeah, he's great, we want decision-making, all those things. However, when you go back and look at it, first of all, they're not going to come out here and say, yeah, Shedeur Sanders is not the guy. We're not looking at – that's not what they're going to say. They will never disrespect the player in the draft. You will know how they truly feel on draft day when that number 2 pick comes up. So I think they're going to look at this for Abdul Carter, how they would look at this. I don't think people would worry about it because the talent is undeniable, how good he has been, and what he could be. It's one of those things that in the back of your mind, it might come up and we will have to address it. The question is, when we address it, what is the recovery process when it becomes a major concern? Mm-hmm. Or is it something that we see how he does his rookie year? Hey, you know what? You was a little off. We want you to go get that surgery. That happens. When I got picked up by the Browns, so I went to Seattle my rookie year. Once I got cut in the playoffs, the Browns claimed me, and when I got picked up by the Browns, they was like, we want you to have surgery on your wrist again because we want you to get the screw out. Mm-hmm. So that's a thing. Like a team could be like, all right, you can come in, do a year, and then all right, now you in our program, let's get you this surgery because we want you to be good moving forward. It's just all about how an NFL team is going to evaluate it. If they feel like it's a concern, his pro day will be very telling. If he's moving fine and doing everything well, it might not be an issue.
So a couple things on this. Number one, it was a wild 12 hours because last night I had the same reaction. I saw, I was like, uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah. Oh, what's your text saying?
It just said, "Ooh, boy."
Yeah, that's it.
And it looked like it just felt like it was trending toward it was going to be a surgery thing. And I'm one of the, listen, I'm not an athlete. It's easy for me to say. Mm-hmm. When in doubt, just have the surgery and get it taken care of. Yeah. But that's exactly like I've talked to people and that's the last thing you want to do.
Because once they cut you, you're not the same.
That's exactly, yes. That's what I've been like. It doesn't matter what it is. Surgery is the last option. You want to do everything you can before to have the surgery. But it felt like it was sort of trained that way. And then all of a sudden this morning it was, nope, everything's good. Nothing to see here. Everything's fine. He's going to be fine. So, and we'll just have to let this play out. Ultimately, a stress reaction, it's certainly not puts his career in jeopardy by any means. Guys play through it all the time.
Yeah.
And I think I tried to find it this morning. I remember Eli Manning having a stress reaction, and I couldn't remember if he had surgery or not. This is years ago. A lot of NFL players have them. And again, it's not the same as a fracture. A reaction can lead to a fracture, which is a full break in the bone. But a reaction is just like warning signs something's not right here. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, to your point about how you get poked and prodded at these things. I can't remember if I told this story on the show or not. But back when the Cavs were rebuilding, those years when LeBron was in Miami, they had a high pick, and it was the year Alex Len was coming out. And Alex had a stress fracture in his leg. And the Cavs had a terrific medical team. Like, their partnership with the clinic, they have a terrific team. And when Alex was in town for his pre-draft interview and workout and all that, the Cavs said, you know what? Let's just get a look at the other leg just to be sure. Like, you got this thing going on this leg. Let's look at the other leg.
Yeah.
He had another stress fracture in the other leg, too. And I don't know if he knew about it or not. They told him about it. And he didn't tell it. I don't think he told any other teams.
You better shut up.
So after that draft, I was talking to somebody with the Cavs who told me, like, Phoenix is in trouble. Like, they probably didn't find it. He's got another stress fracture. He's going to have surgery on that thing. And sure enough, however long later it came out, Alex Len has to have surgery on this other stress fracture in his other leg because Phoenix didn't bother to get a picture of the other leg. So that's just one example of millions of these. If you have one thing wrong with you, they are going to dissect the rest of your body.
I was on that table bending. They was pulling my arm. I had to do the wrist because the biggest thing for me was this wrist because I don't have flexibility on my wrist. You know how everybody's wrist bend down, mine go like that. Like so.
You ain't got Kobe.
Yeah, I can't. It's my right hand. So like I had to do this test. I had to do this test. Like it was just all that. How do you play with it? And I was like, well, I usually wear a cast or something like that. And it was like, okay. The Browns actually, shout out to the Browns. The Browns made me a thing to like that my wrist wouldn't go back. And it actually like extended my career for like 3 more years because I was able to actually like use my hands because it didn't hurt my wrist. So yeah, it's a lot of pushing and pulling. And like I say, you're going to go through probably especially if you're a top pick, all 32 teams, every doctor is going to push and pull. You're going to do every scan and everything because they invested in $20 million in you. They got to make sure that they getting what they want.
The thing specifically with Abdul Carter, to me, it's one more thing. If you weren't sure about him, it's one more thing because he's a little undersized. Like what, 6'3", 250 ish?
He weighed in at 248 yesterday.
Okay, that's a little on the small side for defensive end.
He's an edge rusher. He needs to if he goes to a 3-4, it doesn't matter.
Well, and Andrew Berry was asked, is he big enough to be impactful in this league? Is he big enough to do this? And of course, as you said earlier, AB's not going to go, nope, too small, too small. Of course they're going to say yes, but AB said yes, he's big enough. But again, like because that's what you do is you put these guys up, and now you're poking holes in them because you're about to give them $40 million or what.
I'm saying.
So you gotta be sure. So you gotta poke as many holes in there, and then see if you can fill the holes. So you put them up on the wall. You're gonna start poking holes. Okay, he's a little small. Okay, well, he had one good year. Okay, well, now he's got this thing in his foot. So if you're looking for reasons not to like Abdul Carter, you can find him. But you can probably say that for just about any prospect.
And I think that's why the tone of the tweet that we seen this morning was changed. Because I was just about to say, like, I wonder what the backdoor politics was like. Like, you know, how much money was shoved in backdoors within the last 12 hours.
I mean,
like, hey,
listen,
y'all done went from reporting this. Y'all can't be putting this out here about this man now. An hour before we started the show, we seeing tweets that's kind of walking back.
The crazy thing about him is literally everybody talks about all these negative things, but then you go ask anybody who's the best prospect in this draft.
Abdul Carter.
They say him.
Yeah.
So it's like,
but again, like but it's almost like you need devil's advocate. Like you have to be sure on this. You can't just blindly say, okay, well, that's our guy because that's what everybody says.
Trust me, I get why they doing all of this, and I get the concern. But like, I think it was Curtis Martin. Curtis Martin was coming out in the draft, and they said that his medical stuff was so bad that man won't last 2 years in the league. And I think New England was like, nah, we still gonna draft him. And obviously Curtis Martin went on to have
terrific career,
great career.
Yeah.
But like, it just depends on the doctor. If the doctor look at it and says it's really not that bad, which obviously they cleared their tone on that. And like I say, in pro day, he's moving fine. It's just one of those things that, listen, the talent is so undeniable. We'll deal with it, you know, when it comes up, or we'll take care of that in the offseason when he's in our building.
To your point, Earl, what you said earlier, agents have basically commandeered the Twitter accounts of these newsbreakers and are basically telling these guys what. And listen, like I know all about the world. I live in the world. I wouldn't want nothing to do. They get paid a lot of money, but it's a different world, man.
Well,
when you're in that newsbreaker world,
they were saying
it's a different existence.
They were saying one of his options is he would have to get a screw in his foot for like 8 weeks.
It was an 8-week recovery, and again, that my initial reaction was, well, 8 weeks is May. Just have the surgery.
Yeah,
just have it.
I thought, but Listen, I had a screw on my wrist. The screw is now out of the wrist because the bone that it was saving is deteriorated. It's gone. It's not existent. And then the screw starts sticking out. Now you're tearing cartilages in my wrist. That's why the Browns wanted me to get it out. They was like, the bone, your scaphoid is gone. So now the screw is sticking out and it's tearing the cartilages in your wrist. So you got to get that out.
Yeah.
So like, same thing with his foot. If he saves it, or if he don't save it at some point, he keeps moving it around. That screw wiggles around and sticks out. Boom, he's going to have to go back in there and get it out anyway. So that's why I'm not a huge fan of him getting the screw in there to begin with.
So ultimately, do you think he falls because of this?
No. Nope.
Earl?
I think the talent is too good.
You know, I think Tyvis was right. He was never going to be the number 1 overall pick anyway. So it's hard to say he falls. I think this is just smoke screen because they're clearly taking Cam Ward. I think it's going to be Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders that go 1 and 2. I don't think he falls nowhere past 5.
How is Miles the last non-quarterback to go? No, Aiden Hutchinson, right? Who's the last number 1?
No, Trayvon Walker.
Trayvon Walker.
Yeah. So it happens more than you think that a non-quarterback goes 1.
You willing? Is Will Levis the guy? From what you see.
No.
All right.
But I would rather have.
Okay.
But how many years has Levis been in the league?
This will be year 3.
This will be year 3 for him.
Correct.
So are we really going to declare after 2 years if a guy
Josh
can play or
Rosen
not?
got 1 year.
Josh Rosen needed about 20 minutes. I mean, that was bad.
No, I mean, Jason making a good point. Like, can you really declare a quarterback not good
If you're
after 2
Tennessee,
years? Like,
if you're Tennessee and you invested, where did Levis go? He was top 10, wasn't he?
Early second-round pick.
He was early
Was
second?
he? I thought he went first.
Early second-round
I thought
pick.
he was like 10 or 11th.
34th.
All right, well, that's different. That actually, to me, that makes it different.
Okay, so what you doing?
Man. I thought he was
33rd. Sorry, excuse me. 33rd
Kiss it
pick.
goodbye. Kiss Cam Ward goodbye.
It is 2 years feels like a rush, but I mean, guys get less and less time now.
Like, it don't make sense for them to go
But
the veteran route.
This is the thing.
Unless you're going bridge.
This is the part that we're not saying. Who's the head coach at Tennessee?
Callahan.
Who picked Will Levis?
Not Callahan.
All right, there
Not
we go.
the GM who's there.
How
That's a
many
good
more
point.
years does Callahan got until he on the hot seat?
No, you got a good point.
I got it. Listen,
Hey,
they
last year
gave
what-
me a deal. If this thing don't look good next year, guess what? Hey,
I know
what?
Callahan
They
was
love
caught on
to-
camera fussing at him a couple times during the season last year too. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. But yeah, I think it's gonna be quarterbacks going 1 and 2. I mean, neither team is in a situation to where you can say, okay, a veteran quarterback is gonna help steer this ship, because it's not. Andrew Berry did say the Browns can't afford, to play top money to a veteran quarterback. This is the situation. These the breaks.
No, he said they can.
He said they can.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I stand corrected. He
But-
said they can, but I doubt if they will.
I don't know if you want to keep throwing money down that hole.
Nah.
So who's getting restructured? How many more years we got to pay this year?
They are about out of. I think
Just
they're
give
out.
them equity.
They're about out of leverage. The Browns are, I think. But I don't know. I go back and forth. I still tend to think Abdul Carter could go number 1. I think if he doesn't, I think if the Titans stay at 1, they're going to take him. How about that?
Take who?
Abdul Carter.
You want to bet?
Nope. But I do think that this widens the range, or widens the possibility of a team trading up to 1 to get it. And we talked on the show before about I couldn't find anyone.
This is the part that gets me. You don't believe in Will Levis.
No.
You understand that this Callahan did not take him. And you understand that if Callahan has another bad year, that he.
I don't know if they're going to fire Callahan after. Well, this would be 3
It'll
years.
His
This
second
would be.
year. No, second. His first year was last year.
I thought this was his 3rd year.
So if they finish with the number 1 pick next year,
Oh, that's right, because he replaced Vrabel. Yeah.
if they finish with the number 1 pick next year, they're not gonna look at Callahan.
Well, if you get the number 1 pick 2 years in a row, you're probably gone.
Uh,
But how often does that happen? Unless you're the Browns. Like, you have to intentionally.
Are you
the Browns
saying-
were trying to get the number
Do
1 pick.
you see that Tennessee is also like they let their best defensive player seek a trade,
Shopping them, yeah.
This is
It's interesting.
He's like cleaning house and getting his people in there. It's kind of what's going on right now.
But again, I've said this 100 times. It comes down, if you don't like the quarterback, you can't take a quarterback just to take a quarterback. Well,
He's
that doesn't
the
make
only
any
good
sense.
one out.
It doesn't make any sense. If you look at a guy, and I'm not saying they do or don't, but if you look at a guy and you're like, man, that ain't it. How could you possibly take him at 1? How could you do that? Because that's what you do in fantasy drafts. Well, let me pull out the magazine and look. I need a quarterback. Who's out there? All right, well, give me that guy. Can we be a little bit better than that in a billion-dollar industry? Can we have scouts? And can we have an evaluation of a guy and say whether he can play or not?
I think you.
They said that he is good as Michael Penix.
Who?
Greg
Ward.
Cosell said that.
Cam Ward. They said he's head and shoulders above everybody else.
Listen.
How can y'all sit on this panel and say we can't do nothing unless without a quarterback? No. Then have a chance to draft a quarterback and then not take the quarterback.
But if your scouting department, whether they're lying or not, can at least look at the owner and say, yeah, that's the guy. Okay, take him.
I understand that.
But that's my only point. If your scouting department doesn't like him, if your team comes to the conclusion this is not for us.
Oh, well, they don't take him.
How can you take him?
I wouldn't.
That's the only point I'm making.
I would take
Not
Abdul
every
Carter.
quarterback fits every franchise. Not every quarterback is worthy of going number 1 or 2.
Speaking of franchises, we got a report card back